Well, friends, we'll continue our discussion on supply now. I am going to share the screen with you. But before understanding the concept of supply, in your previous class, we are discussing some of the definitions, right? You might have remembered few of those definitions, like what is business, etc. So once again, we'll see those things. Give me a minute. In the meantime, I'm trying to share the screen with you. I think screen is visible now. PPTs are visible to you. Yeah, in the previous class, we have already covered the definition of taxable event, and we know not the definition of taxable event. We have understood the concept of taxable event, and we know the supply of goods is the tax supply of goods or services, or the supply itself is the taxable event. And after that, we try to understand certain definitions, and we have covered the definitions like definitions of goods. What are goods? We know. Then we have already learned what is the meaning of services. Services definition we have learned, is it not? Principle, that definition also we have understood. What is the meaning of competent authority? That we have understood. Meaning of family, we have covered this thing. Yeah, one important definition, business. What is business? We have understood. Several points are there. If required, we will be again visiting to this definition again. Once again, we will be understanding what is business. What's the meaning of government? We have understood. Local authority definitions we have covered. The meaning of consideration also we have covered. Right? Monetary value that is paid for supplies. That is the meaning of consideration we have covered. Actionable claim definition we have covered. Agent we have covered. Manufacturer, money, taxable supply. I think taxable supply we have not covered. Is it not? So up to money we had covered. Now we'll start from here. Today we'll be starting our class from this concept. What is the meaning of taxable supply? What is supply? We have not yet learned. I will be telling you shortly what is the meaning of supply. But before that, we'll have some basic idea what is taxable supply. Taxable supply means a supply of goods or services or both which is leviable to tax under this act. That means under CGST Act. If goods and service taxes are leviable under that supply, that will be called as taxable supply. But actually, to understand this meaning, we need to understand the meaning of supply. So that will be covering short. And we also need to know what is the meaning of taxable territory. Taxable territory means territory to which the provision of this act applies. That's the meaning. Next term which is important for us to understand the concept of supply is person. Okay, this particular definition, I want some of you please read it. Section 2 clause 84 defines person. You might have read similar kind of definitions in Income Tax Act 1961, but here the definition is slightly different. So some of you please read it.
A person includes an individual, a Hindu undivided family, a company, a firm, a limited liability partnership, an association of person or a body of individuals, whether incorporated or not in India or outside India, any corporation established by or under any central act, state act, or provincial act, or a government company as defined in clause 45 of section 2 of the Companies Act 2013, any body corporate incorporated by or under the laws of country outside India, a cooperative society registered under any law relating to cooperative societies, a local authority, central government or a state government, society as defined under the Society Registration Act 1860. Trust, every artificial judicial person not falling within any of the above.
Yes. Have you read similar kind of definition elsewhere? As I told you just now, I was talking about that.
The individual
Not
definition.
individual, the definition of persons you must have read in income tax. Did not. Those who have
So we had individual. In place of person in income tax, we had individual.
No, sir, we did have person.
no. You see, I think you are getting confused. What is individual? It has not been defined in Income Tax Act also. It's not defined in GST. It has never defined in Income Tax Act also. Right?
So sorry, my mistake.
Income Tax Act, if you go and check it similarly, just like that I had told you, you can base it to the income tax, just like GST website to find out what is exactly law. Similarly, you can go to the website of incometaxindia.gov.in. Okay, and there also you can find out Income Tax Act, and there you can find Section 2, Clause 31. Section 2, Clause 31 of the Income Tax Act defines person. And here which section? Section 2, Clause 84 defines persons. Right? Okay, I think you just got confused. Right? Individual has not been defined. That definition is also person. Is it not? Why similar kind of definition? Because that is also inclusive definition. There also, if you see, person includes. Here, if you see, it says person includes. Person includes an individual. HUF, company, farm. You see, all these things are the persons under income tax law. Also, similar kind of persons are there. Income Tax Act, LLPs. The meaning of farm includes LLPs. AOP, BOI. You know these concepts. They are also persons. Corporation has not been specifically defined under Income Tax Act, but under GST law, you see CGST Act, it says any corporation established by or under Central Act, State Act, or Provincial Act, or government company. They are also person. This is specifically one additional point under GST law, which is not there in Income Tax. Then body corporate incorporated by or under the law of the country outside India. This is also, you see, an additional definition. It is not there in Income Tax Act. Under Income Tax Act, this particular term also means company. Company includes that thing. Cooperative society, not specifically included in Income Tax Act, but under GST law, you see this definition is there. Local authority, in income tax definition also you can find local authority. Here also you can find local authority. Central government, state government, this is not there under Income Tax law. Society, not specifically mentioned under Income Tax Act 1961. Trust, not specifically mentioned. AJP or artificial juridical person, under Income Tax law, this is also defined. This is also included in the word person. Under GST law also, this is included as person. Okay, understood? These are the things. And now can you identify what are the additional, what are the items which are additionally included in the definition of person under GST law? That means which is not there under Income Tax law, but it is specifically mentioned here. Income Tax law also it is included, but not specifically mentioned. But under GST law, you can find it is specifically mentioned. Can you identify? Meaning,
I guess
trust, right? Trust is one item which is not specifically mentioned. Which one?
The society as defined under
society also it is not there. Okay, then try to identify.
Is there any body corporate incorporated by or under laws of country outside
India? This is also not specifically mentioned, but under income tax law, what happens? Any body corporate incorporated under any law, any country outside India, the definition of company under income tax law includes this thing. Therefore, it has not been specifically mentioned. Just like, okay, AOP BOI, the trust can be covered under AOP BOI. Therefore, it is not specifically mentioned. The society is also not specifically mentioned. Central government, state governments are not mentioned. Okay. Cooperative society, as you know, it is not mentioned. Body corporate is not mentioned. Corporation established under Central Act, these are also not mentioned. LLPs are also not specifically mentioned. But you see, GST law includes all these items in the definition of person. Okay. Any doubt you have regarding any of these items? The term person is important for us. Do you have any doubt or any query, or this definition is clear to you? As you can see, this is also not an exhaustive definition. This is an inclusive definition. Is it not? So let's move further. If this is clear. Okay, just have a look. These are various category of persons which are specifically mentioned. Just have a look before we proceed further. So 14 categories are there. 14 categories as specifically mentioned. But inclusive definition, that means there may be many other kinds of persons. Okay, let me move further. Now, next definition is recipient. Okay, recipient loosely meaning the person who receives the supply. It may be goods or it may be services. Now let us see what is the technical definition of the term recipient. Here you see, now just have a look. Now tell me whether it is a inclusive definition or exhaustive definition.
Exclusive.
Inclusive?
No, sir, exclusive.
Sir, inclusive. Inclusive.
Inclusive?
Yes, sir.
You see, it is an exhaustive definition because it uses the word terms. Yeah, word.
Sir, but also in the second point, it is mentioned it shall
Second
include.
point means lastly you can say it shall include an agent.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll coming to that. Okay, first let us understand one by one. So broadly you can say this is exhaustive because it's specifically defined. It says who is an recipient? Recipient of supply of goods or services or both means where a consideration is payable. We'll be again understanding what is the meaning of consideration. When you buy certain things, you pay something is returned. That is called as consideration. Most of you must have studied contract act, so you know what is the meaning of consideration. Where the consideration is payable for supply of goods, services, or both, the person who is liable to pay consideration, he is the recipient. Okay, suppose you are purchasing something. That means shopkeeper is supplying you something. You are liable to pay consideration. So you are the recipient. Or you are availing some services. Okay, you are liable to pay consideration. Is it not? So you are the recipient. So where consideration is payable, the person who is liable to pay consideration is the recipient. Okay, please keep on responding. Where no consideration is payable. Okay, no consideration is payable. Okay, let us say some medicine representative giving some free samples to a doctor. Whether doctor is going to pay some consideration for this? Will doctor pay something? Yes or no? No? Is it not? So second point B talks about that kind of situation where no consideration payable, but supply is made. Medicine company delivered the entire free sample to the doctor. But supply has been made, but consideration is not payable. So point B addresses those kind of issues where no consideration is payable for supply of goods. The person to whom goods are delivered or the person to whom goods are made available. Suppose some services are made, services are made available to a person. Or to whom possession or use of the goods is given. Something is given to another person for possession or for use. So possession or use of the good is given or made available. So that person will be called as the recipient. Understood the term recipient? Suppose free samples are given to the doctor. Now who is the recipient? Medicine representative or doctor?
So doctor,
Doctor. Okay. And here doctor cannot say I am the not the recipient because I have not paid any consideration. Doctor cannot bring that argument. He is not the recipient because he has not paid any consideration. Because this particular section, a particular clause of section 2 specifically says that recipient means where no consideration is payable, then the person to whom these goods are delivered. Is it not? Now, third situation, where no consideration is payable for supply of service, the person to whom service is rendered. If certain services are rendered, okay, some services are provided for a person. The person to whom the services are rendered, then he will be considered as the recipient. Okay. Now, little addition to this three concepts, and any reference to person to whom supplies shall be made shall be construed as a reference to the recipient of the supply and shall include an agent. That means when I'm talking about the recipient, that also include the agent of the recipient. Okay, recipient includes agent of the recipient. So recipient has been defined here. It's exhaustively it has been defined. But this term recipient also includes agents of recipient. Okay. And what is the meaning of agent? That also we need to learn. We'll be learning subsequently. Okay. Understood this concept? Concept of recipient? Before learning the concept of supply, we need to have clarity over these terms. Now we'll be understanding what is supplier. Supplier has to be understood with reference to the term supply. Supplier in relation to goods or services or both shall mean the person supplying the said goods or services or both and shall include an agent. Supplier also includes agent of the supplier. And here it is agent acting as such. That means agent who is acting as an agent on behalf of such supplier in relation to the goods or services or both supplier. Okay, so simple definition. The person supplying these goods, services or both, including his agent, will be regarded as the supplier. Okay, simple definition. Yes. Now, many key definitions we have covered. We might have to revisit this definition while learning the concept of supply. Now we are in a position to understand the concept of supply. Okay. Now be attentive now how to understand the concept of supply. Right. So there are two sections which is important for us. First section is section 7. In fact, section 7 clearly explains what is the meaning of supply. What is the meaning of supply? What is the scope of their term is explained in section 7. Section 8 explains two different things, not exactly different. Two related things. That is, what is composite supply and what is mixed supply, and how that will be taxed. Those aspects are dealt with section 8. So you can say section 7 and 8 taken together completely explains what is supply. But to understand this thing, you have to refer three schedules. Schedule 1 talks about the activities to be treated as supply, even if made without consideration. Just now we have understood what is consideration. So there will be some activities will be still treated as supply, even if there is no consideration. They are covered under Schedule 1. Schedule 2 talks about the activities of transaction to be treated as supply of goods or as supply of services. That means this schedule makes an attempt to distinguish which are the supply of goods and which are the supply of services. And Schedule 3 talks about the activities or transactions which shall be treated neither as supply of goods nor as supply of services. You can call this particular schedule as something like a negative list kind of thing. That means activities which are listed there are neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Okay. Okay. In the entire GST architecture, supply is the keystone. When supply is made, then only taxability will arise. Okay. So which sections are relevant? Please speak with me. What are the two sections which are relevant for us to understand the complete meaning of supply? Section
7 and 8.
7 and 8. Section 7 and 8 you want. 7 and 10 and 3 schedules. Schedule 1, 2 and 3. Okay. First we'll see section 7. We'll move slowly because it involves certain complexities. Okay. First we'll see section 7. It has got several subsections and clauses also. One by one we'll try to cover this. Right. So section 7. Now you see. Just have a look. This is a clause. Now again, as you can see, this is also an inclusive definition. Now, subsection 1, first of all, we'll see. Subsection 1 has only 3 clauses, clause A, B, C. And you can see the supply is defined in an inclusive manner. You see, supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services are both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, or disposal made, or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. Okay, so all these things are supply. Inclusive definition. Supply may be for goods or supply may be of services or both, partly goods or partly services, joint supply. That possibilities are also there. And includes sale. Sale, you know, I think there is no doubt about the term sale, but still we'll be understanding the defined how sales can be defined. Subsequently, we are going to learn exactly what is sales, but we loosely understand what is the meaning of that. Transfer, you know, assets or properties can be transferred. Barter. What is barter? Any of you can explain me what is barter?
So it is a system in which, in exchange of goods, we don't pay money. Like there is no exchange of currency. We exchange goods for goods.
Yeah, you exchange goods for goods. So that is also possible. That is also supply. Okay. Exchange. What is exchange?
Giving something to the person and receiving like
Is there any difference coming to your mind between barter and exchange? Okay, so you see, so these terms are not defined. We have to understand it by taking the normal way it is understood. Barter, as you told right now, that something is exchanged for some other thing. That is barter. But in case of exchange, what happens normally, in addition to a particular goods or commodity, you pay a little more. Suppose you are exchanging your car for a new car. So you are giving your car and also paying some money. Is it not? Exchange offer. Or you are giving your old TV and getting a new TV. That's also a supply. That's a kind of exchange offer. So that they are slightly different than the barter. Barter system, you give one item and you get another item. Understood? What is barter? Okay. Suppose you give 5 kg of rice and you are getting 10 kgs of wheat. So that is barter system. License. License means a special permit kind of thing given by the competent authority to do something. We'll be understanding what is the meaning of license also. Rental, you know. Lease also, you know. Okay, maybe short-term lease, long-term lease. Disposals, you can understand. Disposals made or agreed to be made, both of them are supplies. But here the key point here is that all these things, sale, transfer, barter, exchange, what is essential is consideration. Okay, all these things, when they're made for a consideration, then only it is supply. Okay, and also the supply has to be made in the course or furtherance of business. That means in the course of business or in the furtherance of business. Okay, that means It should be a business related transaction for advancement of business. What is the meaning of furtherance? So technically again we'll be learning, but right now at this stage you have to understand connected with the business for advancement of the business if that transaction should happen. That means if it is a purely personal transaction, then it is not a supply. Okay, right? Understood the key point? What is essential? So all these are possible. It may be goods, it may be services, or both. But what is essential is consideration, and it should be in the course or furtherance of business. Second point is that importation of service. That means if services are imported for a consideration. But you see, what is relevant here is whether or not in the course of furtherance of the business. That means even if it is not for the course of the business, it's not in the course of the business, or not for furtherance of the business, still if it is an import of services, still it will be included in supply. Okay. Third point is that the activities specified in Schedule 1 made or agreed to be made without consideration. Meaning Schedule 1 contains a list of activities where even if consideration is not involved, still that will be regarded as the supply. So key point we have to take that sale, transfer, barter, etc. Everything can be called as supply, provided there is a consideration and it is in the course of or furtherance of business. Import of services, if consideration is there, even if it is not in the course of furtherance of the business, still it can be regarded as the supply. And there is a list of activities which are covered in Schedule 1, right? If these activities are, let us say, supplied, or these activities are provided for without any consideration, still they will be regarded as supply. Is it clear here? Now one by one we'll see. First I will show you what are those activities which will be treated as supply even if they are made without consideration. That means which schedule I am talking about? Schedule 1. Okay. So these are the activities where, see it minutely, these are the activities where even if, okay, sorry, even if they are made without consideration, still they will be regarded as supply. Okay. What is the first point? Permanent transfer or disposal of business assets where ITC has been availed. If ITC has been availed, business asset is disposed of, even if without consideration, then also it is supply. Then supply of goods or services are both between related person. What is related person? I will be telling you subsequently. Between distinct person. Distinct person I will be explaining you. Sometimes what happens, one person may go for 2 GST registrations. This has been explained here, you see. So maybe that person is working, having 2 different kind of business. 2 different business verticals are there, or more than one business vertical is there. He can go for multiple GST number, multiple GST registration. In that case, even if person is one, since there are multiple GST registration, with reference to one person, other person shall be recognized as a distinct person. Right? One person, let us say he has taken one GST registration for cloth business. Same person. Another registration for steel business. Both of them, that means cloth GSTN and this thing, steel GSTN, both will be considered. Both these GSTN holders, GST registration holders, will be considered as distinct person. Okay. When the supply of goods and services are both between related persons or between distinct persons, as specified in section 25, when made in the course or furtherance of the business, then even if it is without consideration, that will be treated as supply. Here one point you have to remember. Okay, supply of goods without consideration between related persons are definitely supply, but gift not exceeding 50,000 rupees in value in a financial year by an employer to employee shall not be treated as supply. Okay, so that is an exclusion. Now, supply of goods by principal to agent, where the agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of principal, or supply of goods by agent to his principal, where agent undertakes to receive such goods on behalf of the principal. That means supply of goods either by principal to agent or agent to principal. Both of them, even if there is no consideration, still they will be regarded as supply. Then import of services by a person from a related person or from any of his other establishment outside India in the course of furtherance services. So import of services in the course of furtherance of the business, even if from a related person, without consideration, are still be regarded as supply. Okay. So here what I covered, this point C part in the provision is there that activities specified in Schedule 1 or agreed to be made without consideration. Made or agreed to be made without consideration. Even if without consideration, all these activities we saw 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? These activities will be still regarded as supply even if they are without consideration. Is it okay? Is it clear to you? Should I move further?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Please try to understand these sections minutely because it will involve some complexity in future. Now, we are still on section 1. Section 7, subsection 1. Section 1, subsection 1, 3 clauses are over. But there is one more subsection, that is 1A, which has been inserted subsequent. Therefore, the subsection number is 1A. It says where certain activities and transactions constitute a supply in accordance with the provisions of subsection 1. Subsection 1, you have seen, they covered only 3 things, right? All forms of supply, sale, exchange, barter, etc. Import of services. Then activities mentioned in Schedule 1. These 3 are covered in subsection 1. But 1A says where certain activities and transactions constitute a supply in accordance with the provisions of subsection 1, then they shall be treated either as supply of goods or supply of services as referred in Schedule 2. So now we have to refer to Schedule 2 because Schedule 2 will help us in identifying which are the transactions which are supply of goods and which are the transactions which are supply of services. Okay, so that means Schedule 2 talks about how to distinguish supply of goods and supply of services. Understood? What is subsection 1A? Right, subsection 1 told us that what is the meaning of supply. Inclusive manner it told us. Then subsection 1A clarifies that this can be classified as supply of goods and supply of services. Now, when coming to the subsection 1A, now if you want to understand what are the things which can be regarded as supply of goods and what are the things which are regarded as supply of services, I have to refer to Schedule 2. Okay. Now, in the meantime, let me tell you, section says Schedule 2. Now, where to find out Schedule 2? You can do one thing. In the slide, of course, I am showing you, but you should also know what is the source where from you are getting it. As I had already shown you, we have already visited GST website, the CBIC website also we have visited, and GST portal also we have visited. And from both the sites, there is a link from where you can download GST laws. Okay, GST law can be downloaded. Just a minute, let me show you that thing. What you are seeing on the screen? Please tell me if things are visible to you. What you are seeing?
The GST side.
I'm trying to open GST website. Just a minute. Now you can do. See, this is GST portal. I had shown you earlier. We'll be visiting to this site. Otherwise, the other site also frequently we'll be visiting, and you also keep on visiting so that things will be made clear to you whenever any query arises. Right. We'll be visiting to this website to learn the other processes like how to do registration, how to pay GST, all other things we'll be learning. Just now, why I'm bringing you here is that okay, you can correct from here. Here you see there is a link GST law. Is it not? You can click here GST law. You see all the state GST laws are here. Here you see CBIC. Okay, if you click here and if you proceed, CBIC website you are getting. Here there is one more link GST. If you go here or directly you can go to CBIC website. Here GST link is there. I am trying to take you to that link. Yeah. Here you see acts are there. Acts. CGST Amendment Act. This is CGST Act. Okay, if you click here, you can read the entire law. What we are learning, you can find out here. Okay, what is this? This is CGST Act. Right. Just why I wanted to take you here. Which section we are learning? Who can tell me? Which section? Which section? Who can tell me? Now we are learning which section?
7 and 8.
7 and 8. Okay, we are still in the 7th section. You see, section 7, what we are learning, they are provided here. Right, section 7, 1 we have just covered. Okay, 2 will be covering. 2 we are still covering. This is you see section 1. But here you see, I have to refer to this schedule 1, schedule 2, schedule 3. I have to read. Otherwise, I cannot understand this particular section. So these schedules in any act, if you want to understand what is schedule, you can do where you can go towards the end part of the law. Once all the sections are over, then schedules start. So I am taking you to the last part, you see. Last part you can find the schedules. You see, this is schedule 1. Activities to be treated as supply even if made without consideration. So this is the list. Okay, so you need not ask anyone. You need not refer to any book also because law is here. Now you see what is schedule 2. I'll show you what is schedule 2. Read what is schedule 2. What is the title? Can you read this line?
Activities to be treated as supply of goods or supply of services.
Yes. So exactly what we are going to learn, we are learning from this CGST Act. The same thing, which is what is written here, we'll be learning that thing. That is why schedule 2 is important. So purpose of showing you this thing is that in case any changes, you can immediately find it out. You can check it, whether the things are right or wrong or there are some changes. And you should also know what is schedule 3. What is schedule 3?
Activities or transaction which shall be treated neither as a supply of goods or nor as a supply of services.
So you can say these are the negative list. These are neither supply of goods and nor supply of services. One by one, we can find it out. So these are the 3 schedules you have seen. You see everywhere it is written C section 7. If you want to read this particular, understand what is this, you have to read it in along with section 7. And section 7 we are learning. When we are learning section 7, you have to also refer to these schedules. Can you find out these schedules? And you can do one thing also. This act can be comfortably downloaded. Okay, here is the link. When you go to the CBSE website, here is a link. You can download. you can see the entire act. Okay, you can keep this act. That is also one more reading material. That is also a book. Okay, instead of reading from the book, we are reading from the bare act itself. Understood now? What is the meaning of these schedules? I think you got a fair idea. Now, once again, I am taking to the slides. Now we are learning schedule 2, right? So as you know, schedule 2 means, is it visible to you? Schedule 2?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see the title? Activities to be treated as supply of goods or supply of service. Okay, so many sometimes disputes may arise that whether this is supply of goods or supply of services. First, we'll see in case of transfer. Any transfer of title in goods is supply of goods. Okay, if title in goods are transferred, okay, even if goods are not physically transferred. Suppose you got a car. If the title is registered in some other's name, the title is registered through registration process, title is transferred. But goods are not transferred. But that is also supply. Physically, even if goods are not transferred, but title is transferred, then that is also supply. The transfer of right in goods. Okay, if there is some right or undivided share in goods without transfer of the title thereof is supply of services. Okay, the first one, let me repeat. Transfer of title of in goods. Goods are not transferred. What is transferred? Title in goods. Okay, now question arises, is it transfer of, is it supply of goods or supply? The schedule say it is supply of goods. It is not supply of services. It is supply of goods. Okay, so title in goods are transferred is supply of goods. But when right in goods are transferred, you have got a right to use a goods and that right is transferred. Or undivided share in goods. You got a share in that good, that share part is transferred. Then it is not transfer of, it is not supply of goods, it is supply of services. Okay. Then point C talks about any transfer of title in goods under an agreement which stipulates that the property in goods shall pass at a future date upon payment of full consideration as agreed by supplier and as agreed. Okay, if as agreed it will be settled in future, then this will be treated as a supply of goods, not as supply of service. If some agreement is made on the basis of that agreement, or the agreement stipulates that the property in goods shall be transferred on a future date. Okay, and what is to be transferred? Property in goods is to be transferred. Okay, and right now what is transferred? The title in goods. Title in goods is going to be transferred. Those kind of transfers will be treated as supply of goods. So you see, first one is supply of goods, second one is supply of services, third one is supply of goods again. Then coming to land and building part, lease, tenancy, easement, license to occupy the land, these are supply of services. Lease or letting out of the building, they are supply of services. Now treatment process. If any treatment or process which is applied to another person's goods, it is a supply of service, not supply of goods. Okay, some treatment is applied. Suppose some material is applied. Okay, and some treatment. Let us say furnitures are supplied and somebody has done a painting on this. So that is supply of services. That painting activity is the supply of services, not supply of goods. Right. Now, one more point again in the schedule 2, where goods forming a part of the assets of the business are transferred. That means business assets are transferred or disposed of. Okay, whether or not for consideration, they'll be regarded as supply of goods. When business assets are transferred, they're supply of goods. Okay. And again, where by or under direction of the person carrying out the business, goods held or used for the purpose of business are put to any private use. That means business goods are put to any private use or are used privately or are made available to any person for use. Okay, whether for a consideration or not. Meaning, when these business goods are made available for use, they will be regarded as supply of services, not supply of. Third point, where any person ceases to be a taxable person, then any goods forming a part of assets of the business carried out by him shall be deemed to be supplied by him in the course or furtherance of the business immediately before he ceases to be the taxable person. Okay. Now, please be attentive. First, A, B, did you understand? Then third point C, I'll be explaining you now. Okay. Did you understand point A, B? Or you find it difficult? Or should I repeat?
Sir, please repeat once more.
Okay. Now, what we are talking about? Schedule 2. Schedule 2 talk about activities to be treated as supply of goods or supply of services. So there might be some specific activities where there might be some dispute. That means there will be some confusion that whether it is supply of goods or supply of services. So this schedule makes it clear in this kind of situation. If this is the case, then it will be treated as either supply of goods or supply of services, depending upon the situation. First case you see, goods forming the part of the business assets. Business assets. Let us say there is a building in the business balance sheet, or there is a vehicle in the business balance sheet, or let us say there is a factory in the business balance sheet. That is transferred or disposed of. Either it is sold to somebody or some other way it is disposed of. Whether or not for a consideration, even if it is disposed of for zero value. Okay, such thing will be considered as what? Goods or supply? Goods or services? Such supply will be regarded as supply of goods or services.
So good.
So
Supply of goods. Business assets are transferred even without consideration. Okay, it is supply of goods. Second point talks about business assets are made available for private use.
So tangible
Suppose-
assets, right?
Which one?
So tangible assets. Okay.
You see, not exactly assets, because what's the wording used in this particular schedule is that goods held or used for the purpose of business. Okay. So any goods, any business goods, if they're put for private use, business goods made for private use. Okay, example you can say, I'm taking an example of a business asset. Suppose car is allowed for private use of the person. Okay, or business asset stock is allowed, somebody is allowed to use it for personal use. Then those kind of services will be regarded as supply of goods or supply of services. What the schedule says? Please read and reply. What is this? Supply of? Can you read it?
Supply of services, sir.
Services. Okay. So business goods are put to private use or supply of services. Or business goods are used for private purposes, they are supply of services. Or they are made available for private use, that is supply of services, not supply of goods. Third point is that a person ceases to be a taxable person. Okay, he is no longer liable to pay GST for whatever reason. He might have surrendered his GST registration. He ceases to be a taxable person. Then whatever asset he is having, whatever stock he is having, his asset he is having, that will be deemed to have been supplied. When immediately before he ceases to be the taxable person. Just before he ceases to be a taxable person, it will assume that all the goods that he's having, that has been supplied. If it is supplied, that is immediate. Before that, he is liable to pay GST. Except these two situations. If business is transferred as a going concern, that means business as a continuing business, it has been transferred or it has been sold to somebody else. Second exception is that business is carried on by a personal representative who is deemed to be a taxable person. That means business is again carried on through a personal representative who is also a taxable person. If that is not so, when the person ceases to be a taxable person, then immediately before that, it will assume that he has supplied the entire goods. Meaning, now GST liability is there on entire goods, whatever he is having. Understood the schedule 2? One more point is there in schedule 2. Did you understand up to this? Okay, let me proceed. I will be repeating it also if required. The following shall be treated as supply of services, namely renting of immovable property. If immovable properties are rented, that is supply of service. Then construction of complex building, civil structure, or a part thereof, including a complex or building intended for sale to the buyer. So any construction activities of building, civil structure, etc., they will be regarded as supply of services. Except where the entire consideration has been received after issuance of completion certificate, where required by the competent authority. Somewhere competent authorities require that a completion certificate shall be issued. Okay, where the entire consideration has been received after issuance of the compliance certificate. That means in that case, it is not a construction contract. Consequently, it is not a supply of service. Otherwise, it is a supply of service. Okay. So, Schedule 2, in fact, talked about 4 broad issues. That means what will happen in case of transfer, in which situation it will be regarded as supply of goods, and which situation it will be regarded as supply of services. Then, in case of land and building, right? So, leasing, tenancy agreement, easement, license, etc., all of them are supply of services. Okay. Then, if some treatment or process is carried on, then that is also supply of services. Then we have understood when the business assets are transferred, whether for consideration or not, they are supply of goods. Then we have understood when business assets are allowed for private use, that is supply of services. When a person ceases to be a taxable person, it will be assumed that he has supplied before the date of his cessation. Okay. Renting of immovable property is supply of services. Construction of complex buildings, civil structure, etc., all of them are supply of services. Okay, this is Schedule 2 of Schedule 2, which is related to Section 7, explains what is supply of goods and what is supply of services. Is it clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
We are going to take a break now. Okay, we'll catch up in our next class. Again, I will try to repeat this concept. This concept might be appearing a little complex to you. So don't worry, we'll be covering it. We'll be learning it. Then we'll proceed to the new areas. Okay, this supply is a very important area. So we'll stop here. We'll catch up after 15 minutes. Okay, after 15 minutes, again, we'll catch up with the same topic. Thanks a lot.